Hello, friends. Welcome to my channel. Today we are recapping cinematic experiences, the movie 2022, Avatar 2. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the recap of this exciting cinematic adventure. The film begins with the main character, Jake Sully, talking about his family's simple, peaceful life with Pandora. Kili has a special bond with Spider and loves him very much as the human boy has dedicated his entire life to the Na'vi. He considers himself one of them. One night, while Neytiri and Jack were talking, they noticed a glowing spaceship in the sky. Suddenly, a spaceship approaches them and begins wreaking havoc. Omatikaya's habitat was burned, causing widespread destruction and the death of many animals. A group of soldiers with robot cannons emerge from the spaceship and destroy the remains of the facility. Neytiri and Jake, watching from a distance, are shocked to learn that it is an RDA spaceship taking people to invade Pandora and build another main operating station. The scene then cuts to one of his human laboratories, where scientists have successfully created a clone of Colonel Na'vi. He feeds on memories and data collected before his death. This means that the Colonel's clone knows everything except who killed him and how. In addition to the Colonel, scientists also created clones of other soldiers who were present during the previous attack on Pandora. The Colonel and his men are therefore determined to destroy Omatikaya, especially Jake. Meanwhile, to repel the intruders, Jake leads a fleet of Na'vi forces as he heads for ERDA's rail supply line. He managed to break into it and steal ammunition and food. During this operation, one of his sons, Rourke, disobeyed orders and was injured. Jake scolds him and asks him to be more disciplined from now on. The Colonel then met with his superior, General Ardmore, and was informed of a new flying partner named Scounds. They in turn attack the helicopter, slowing it down. Hearing this, Kulash made a master plan to invade the forest where they once fought and gather information about them. Soon he arrived at the forest with other companions. Unfortunately, Jake's children are also playing in the same forest. At that moment, the Colonel looked around the battlefield in front of him and realized that the robot suit was still inside. All of this was witnessed by Rourke, who immediately contacted his father via a voice transmitter around his neck. Jake hears this and suggests Rourke to leave the place quietly, away from them. He and Neytiri then flew to the forest to make sure the children were safe. Unfortunately, when Rourke and his brothers tried to escape, they were captured by humans. The Colonel took a closer look at their fingers and saw that they were the children of his great rival. At that moment, Neytiri and Jake arrive and attack the soldiers. They manage to free most of the children, except for Spider. The unfortunate boy was taken away by cruel people. Back in Omatikaya, Jake approaches his wife and suggests they leave town and go to the East Coast. He fears that Spider will reveal their location to the Colonel and his men. Jake also tells Neytiri that since he was the one who killed Colonel Kolyash in the first place, the humans will continue to attack them until they reach his tribe. Neytiri didn't want to leave her beautiful home, but she knew everything her husband said was true, so she agreed to emigrate with him. Meanwhile, General Ardmore shows his cruelty towards Spider by filming him on camera. In the next scene, Jake and his family leave his parents' house to go exploring. After several days of flying, they finally arrived at a place called Met-Kina, where another Na'vi tribe lived. Surprisingly, the Na'vi people who live here have bright colors and prefer to be underwater. They saw Jake and his buddies and started making fun of his looks. At that time, Tonawari, the leader of the tribe, arrived with his wife. He is skeptical of Jake and his family, claiming that they cannot survive underwater. However, Jake, wanting to save his family, quickly got used to the place and promised to provide shelter. He also asked Jake to teach his children how to swim and use special creatures to move through water. In response to this request, Tonawar's children began going to the sea with their new friends and teaching them the basics. Meanwhile, a girl, Kili, is seen in the deep sea. What is surprising is how well she has adapted to this position. The next day, while she was meditating in the water, Anwar's son Ionin and his girlfriend's friends approached her and started mocking her, calling her a monster. Because of this, Roku came and attacked Aonang. But Aonang didn't sit down and started hitting some people's butts with his tick-tail. When Jake later discovered this incident, he angrily ordered his son to apologize to because he was the son of the family head, Roku reluctantly accepted and apologized. Even if, and although, forgave him in front of others, she was still angry in her heart. He heads to a designated location in the name of swimming to teach Rourke a lesson. Rourke had no idea there were dangerous sea predators in the area. The next moment, as Rourke was fishing, a large predator quickly swam towards him in fear. Rourke looked for help but found no one. But at that moment, a gigantic creature named Paya Khan came to the rescue. Their large heads quickly kill predators. Here we learn that Paya Khan is Tulkun, a kind and intelligent creature. Later, when Rourke arrives on the mainland, he is called by his strict boss, Tonwari, who discovers his son's plot and tries to get Anon to apologize. Meanwhile, Spider informs the Colonel about Navi's culture. At first, the Colonel struggled too, but soon they picked him up and flew away. Soon after, he also received information about Jake's possible location and departed with his army to meet Kenarif. Upon arriving, he meets several Zora, who ask if they know Jake. When Navi said no, the cruel humans killed one of them and burned down the house. The toolbox contains valuable brain fluid that may extend your lifespan. On Earth, a liter of this liquid would be worth millions of dollars. Soon, some hunters set out to hunt the sea monster. They beat many believers unconscious. In a heartbreaking scene, a tool fraudster is brutally murdered, and a child is seen standing next to him in shock. Eventually, the human leaves with the tracking device attached to the tool. When Metkina learned that his friend had been killed, he became angry and decided to attack the attackers. However, Jake calms her down and says that he needs to tell Tool Can about her followers first. This is the only way to prevent future strikes. As soon as Roku heard this, he went to inform his best friend Paycon. Anon and several other locals also joined him. Sometime later, they meet Paycon and prepare to take the tracking device from him. But soon the Colonel and his hunting team boarded a whaler. After Rourke saw them, he contacted his father and informed him of the situation. In just a short time, he and his friends were able to remove the tracking device from Paycon's body. They then hide underwater and the Colonel's crew begins a search. The Colonel now orders his crew to attack the toolbox and find Jake's children. After searching for a while, he finally found Kiri and caught him in a net. Rourke tried his best to break the net, but he was pulled towards the whale. At the same time, Pagan notices his best friend Rourke handcuffed to a bridge and decides to rescue him. Locke and Spider immediately took him to his mother on the shore. However, due to excessive blood loss, he died. Meanwhile, the evil Colonel captured Kili and took him with the villains. He then contacts Jake and reveals that they have 2 daughters together. Just then, Jake approaches the ship and sets off an explosion, killing the Colonel's men. Neytiri also arrived there and began shooting arrows at the remaining people, killing them all instantly. Meanwhile, Jake finds and takes her young daughter and frees her. But at the same time, the Colonel appeared. He held a knife at Kili. He threatens Jake to put down the gun. Meanwhile, a vengeful Knightley captures Spider and threatens to kill him. At first, the Colonel said he had nothing to do with Spider. However, when Needy made a small cut on the boy's chest, he quickly moved away from Kiri. Needy, Tierley, and his family then prepare to leave. But the Colonel says he will hunt and kill Jake again. This time, the main rivals will face off in a classic brawl. It was a brutal battle, with the two facing each other at every turn. Jake, the winner, threw his arms around the colonel's neck and brought him down. Thinking he was dead, Jake left him in the water to drown. Unfortunately, he also had trouble breathing and began sinking to the ground. But at the same time, Rourke came to his rescue and brought him to the surface. Pacon then carried the entire family ashore. Meanwhile, Spider also pulls his biological father out of the water, saving his life. In the final scene, Jake's family and the entire Metacana tribe bury Natimi's body at the bottom of the ocean, where tubes of light similar to their own embrace him. The film ends with Jake recalling his fondest memories of his eldest son and realizing that he is in heaven with their gods. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this movie summary and want more, subscribe now.